Edelweiss.
My name is Claudine Ullman, actress, improviser, and all-round hustler, and you're listening to the Big Time Podcast. My chance to speak to industry greats, movers, shakers, and game changers. People who are making waves and setting new standards. Who are they? What inspires them? And what do they have to do to hit the big time? You hit the big time, baby.
Joining me today, ladies and gentlemen, is hilarious local comedian Warren Robertson. Boo, 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 boo. Hey.
That is an intro. I'll tell you what, like industry movers, shakers, greats, experts, and this guy on his balcony. That's what we've got here.
The medium to small time today.
Yes, that's right. What does he need to do to make it big? Murder people, because only through infamy will he ever get known to the public.
That is the only way. Well, I actually am a huge fan of yours. We're going to talk about your journey. The show really is all about you. But before we get into any of that, I do need to say hello to Facebook, hello to YouTube, hello to TikTok. We are live on all the platforms. And we are going to spend the next 45 minutes-ish talking about you, your journey, how you got to where you got to. I personally think you are hilarious. Last year I went to go watch Warren's one-man show in London. Warren is obviously a part of Jittery Citizens as well, so he's incredible at improv. So we're going to talk about all of this. But first I want to know how you are keeping during lockdown. How are you doing?
Ooh, I would say I was doing really well until about 2 weeks ago. And then something happened. I think something happened in the wind, and I think basically everyone I know is suddenly having meltdowns. So things have, I think everybody now knows people who are in hospital with this illness. So I think it's starting to really hit home, rather than just be like a cool way to chill at home and catch up on Netflix. It's now become like a bit spooky, but I'm alive. This is a good start. This is the way I'm going to judge 2020: is if I get out of it alive, it was a success.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, shit a bloody brick. Okay, so it sounds like you're surviving, which is great. That's a good start.
Yeah. I mean, here I am, putting on the kilos nonetheless as well. So it's not like the lack of work is stopping me from eating.
Do you know what the problem is if I stretch my arm out really far, I basically can touch the fridge, which is hugely problematic because we way too connected, the fridge and I, this lockdown. Shit a brick.
Yeah, if there's a break between Netflix episodes, what else are you going to do but go to the fridge? Is there anything there? And there's always something, old lettuce, can of beetroot, like it doesn't matter, you'll eat it.
I'll eat it all. Okay, so I'm glad that you are surviving. I'm glad you're doing it. Let's talk about comedy and how you got into comedy. How did you discover that you were a hilarious human being?
I didn't know. I had an incident that got me into comedy. I was at Wits University during O Week, and because it was O Week, I was drunk, and I was recruiting for a local kind of charity organization amongst the students during O Week, and I had a beer funnel over my shoulder, because that's the best way to get students to join your charity organization, isn't to tell them they're helping, to get them drunk.
This was in the 1940s.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And John Vlismus was there doing a corporate for FMB, talking about how you've got to sign up for your student savings account. And at the time, he was running Cool Runnings, the Underground. And so I'd seen him there a few times, and I was basically heckling him for being a sellout, really. I was just giving him shit the whole time, being basically my least favorite kind of audience member. And he couldn't really be John Vlismus because he was doing a corporate. So he couldn't really attack me. But, I didn't know this at the time. And I just kept beating him, and I was feeling very good about myself. And I remember at one point I went, John, look, this isn't going well for you. Take a beer funnel, and I'll leave. And what I didn't know was he was in his heavy just quit drinking because of, massive life overhaul kind of situation. And I didn't know this. So he went, no, I can't do that. I was, gave him shit. And he said, did you know that a beer funnel is just a phallic object? And I said, yes. Here's the guy who talks into a microphone for a living. And he said, bring it here. And he did a funnel on stage. And then afterwards he came to me and went, you're hilarious. This Sunday, Comedy Underground, you're doing a set. I don't care what you're doing.
That's so
and I wouldn't have gone. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone, except that a friend of mine was there with me and he overheard it. And he said, okay, I'm driving you. And he literally showed up at my house on the Sunday evening and drove me there. And I did my first 5 minutes kind of off the cuff at the Underground, and went well enough that they asked me back the next month. Because that's how it worked. That's how it worked in 2005, was you did a set and then there was immediately space for you like the next month. By the time the Underground was finishing, you'd get like one set a year if you were starting out, if you were lucky.
Wait, the reason why the story doesn't make sense is since when were you in varsity in 2005?
So I was there, so it would be 2004. So all right. So it was 2004 because I did 3 sets for John, and then I moved to Pietermaritzburg and I quit comedy. And then I came back to Joburg in like 2006 when my friend Kirsten was managing John, and she saw my name on his books and said, I want to see you do comedy, comedy. So I actually count 2006 as like my official start, because that's when I started doing it sort of regularly. But it was those 3 sets in 2004 that...
I mean, to have the first person who believes in you, as someone as great as John Flesmus.
Yeah.
Come on. That's incredible.
Yeah, John's been phenomenal in terms of helping me with my career, right from, even just that first day, that first Sunday, I showed up and he got absolute revenge on me because his intro was, I found this guy alone in a classroom with nothing but a frightened looking hamster and a condom, that's how he introduced me on stage for my first set. But since then he's been phenomenal for me. He's really kind of, he's always been there for me with advice and he's given me opportunities that I wouldn't otherwise have gotten, I think, if he didn't believe in me. So I've been very lucky because of that particular relationship. And I think he handled being heckled phenomenally well, because I would have probably let the guy's tires down. And here he is building a career for me.
That is so hilarious. Oh my goodness. And as I say, how great to have your first 5 encouraged by someone like John. He's just such a legend.
But also, as I say, I think the Underground was a little bit like that in those days. There was a guy who had live mice on stage and another guy who shoved a firecracker up his ass. So, some drunk from Wits was probably another, kind of addition to the Underground lineup in those days. I don't think it was nearly as slick and professional as it is now.
Having an Underground.
Yeah.
And I've never had an Underground. It was like before my time. I wasn't even really watching. I maybe saw comedy there once. I was still in high school getting drunk and smooching boys and doing whatever we did at Underground at Runnings.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was doing in high school as well.
But exactly I feel like we've missed out. I've missed out. I've missed out on that whole. It just sounds like comedy was like raw and rough, and you could take risks.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
yeah
like.
for sure there was more of that, but I was only the tail end of that. I think like the early days, the guys were genuinely, when you hear the stories of their tours and their, and there was only a handful of them, so they were all rock stars. And I think that era I sort of came in right at the death, because it was, I think that year, myself, David Kibuka, and kind of more Chris Mapane, there's a couple, Melt Sieberach, Hannes Brummer. We kind of started then, whereas the old guard, Joey Rasdeens, David Cowes, Chris Forrest, these kind of massive names in South African comedy had already done the Pure Minati show. They'd already become like superstars. So I feel like we kind of I was kind of that part of the era that was bridging that wild drug crazed era and the more professional, now we make movies kind of comedian that you get now.
Totally. I mean, you've done so much in your career. As you say, you've now been doing comedy for 2016 years.
Yeah. I mean, look, as I say, I officially count my start as 2006 because those first 3 gigs, I'm kind of like, they were all totally different sets because I didn't know you were supposed to perfect material.
Yes, and so my first
one I hadn't even.
I was like, what am I doing in my second show? Oh, because I'm not supposed to change all the material.
That's right. Yeah. So that's what I did those first 3, and then when I came back, I actually wrote material and I had a proper show and that I started building on and becoming better with. So yeah, I do count 2006. So this is 14th year anyway, which is astounding to me.
No, it is astounding. It really is astounding. In those 14 years, as I say, you really have done so much. What are some highlights from 14 years of doing stand-up?
Okay, well, I remember very early in 2006, the Joburg Council had this, Joburg Arts Festival that I got on the lineup for somehow with my 5 minutes alongside kind of Mark Banks and John Vlismus and all these massive names at Standard Bank Arena. And that was just this phenomenal start to comedy. And it's all been downhill since then. My first show in Grahamstown was lovely. I got very nice reviews, full houses, made money that year, and became totally overconfident about my ability to continue doing that at Grahamstown. The show you mentioned last year in London was obviously like massive. But I always say to people, performing at Oppikopi. I've done a half dozen Oppikopis now, and just going every year and getting to go backstage and hang out with the bands and drink with them and have people recognize you and shout things at you and give you beers. And I mean, that's a phenomenal experience because I went to Oppikopi for 10 years before I ever got to perform there. So for me, it was this, like an unbelievable occasion for me, So the thing about comedy is that it's taken me to a lot of places where I wouldn't have gone. I never would have, I would never have done gigs in strange small towns. And I mean, we did a gig in Witbank once where it was on a Wednesday night and the gig started at 9 and we arrived at about 6 to set up sound and everything. And the place was already heaving. It was about 600 people in a venue that could fit 300, and I kind of look back on those sorts of gigs and go, why was I there? Why was I in Witbank? On a Wednesday night? This is bizarre. And it was just wonderful, like just these things I never would have done that I have now.
That's okay. That's so magic.
Yeah, I tend to think of those things more than like, TV or whatever, because TV's so ascetic. You're kind of like there's about a half dozen people there filming and directing and running messages and script writing and whatever, but otherwise it's just you and the camera, so it doesn't really feel like a high energy amazing moment.
Yeah, totally. So those are some of the like glam, awesome show went well. What disaster shows have you had?
Ah, man, so many. I when I first just came back from 2006, this guy called Alistair ran a gig in Alberton, and this is a gig I remember because I died horribly, but like just terribly on stage. Like everything was bad, everything was wrong, and I was doing stuff for a crowd that wanted to hear Barry Hilton and got me instead. And they were deeply unhappy and they started heckling me, but not in a clever way, but in a drunken, like, ugh, kind of way. And then I got angry and I got worked up. And then I said some things to some guy in the front row. And as I came off stage, owner went, come with me. We got to go this way. That guy's waiting for you in the parking lot. He's going to fuck you up. And then took me out the back, snuck me around into his car. Yeah, stuck me into his car, drove his car to my car so that this guy wouldn't see me getting out of the club. So I've had those. Yeah, I've had those kind of moments as well.
Was it a gig I did with you? It was one of Glenn Bow's shows at like the Whisk in Pretoria or something. And while it was Alfred Adrian. And Alfie is hosting.
Me and Alfred like the same.
Yes, Alfie is hosting, and I actually think I was headlining that night. I was on last, and this dude was so fucked that literally like sitting next to us at our feet while we're doing comedy, he's like vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. And I remember Alfie and I were both like, fuck this shit, getting out of here. This is so bloody gross.
Yeah. But that at least isn't your fault. The worst gigs are the ones where you die and it's your fault. Like the best thing to happen on a night is when you get up there and you die is for everyone else to die. Because then it's not your fault. Like it's fine. That's fine.
Feel good about
it. Vomiting in the front, fine. But when you get up and everyone's murdering and then you die, that's got to be the worst. That's got to be the thing that like. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to tell newcomers is to say to them every night one person dies, and tonight it's got to be you. You've just got to go up there and just fucking be terrible. Like,
yeah. I don't care if it ruins the whole gig. Just be shit.
Yeah, just go up there and be terrible so that the rest of us can shine. Like, do your best.
So funny. Come on, take one for the team. It's like the initiation.
And then what happens is no matter how well they did, when they come off, you pat them on the back and you say, "Thank you, I appreciate it."
Yeah. Thanks so much. That's yeah. So I've had Ryan on the show, Whittle. I've had Tyson and Gubeni. I've had a few improvisers, and we've always played Would You Rather? Would you rather improv and stand-up audition? Like, would you rather I said to you, you can only do stand-up for the rest of your life, you can only do improv for the rest of your life?
Sure. I think I'm going to say stand-up simply because I think I'm more proficient at it, just because I think I've put more hours into it. My 10,000. I've done improv for longer. I did improv when I was in high school already, but it's always been kind of on and off. And only recently, having joined Jittery, has it been more kind of focused. And as you know, this year's whole COVID thing has really put a real damper on that. But I just think I've probably done more of my hours. If I had to feed my son on something, it would probably be stand up.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, there's just
I love both of them. But if you put a gun to my head, yeah.
Yeah, I think also like for me, improv is what I'm more proficient at, and I would probably choose improv. But in terms of like money and being known and this or that, like stand up, absolutely. Like just the world stand up opens to you, and as we've discussed, it's not all glitz and glam. It really isn't, No. But it definitely opens doors.
The thing that they always see.
I don't understand what improv is yet,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing you always see in the stand-up movies, you always see like somebody starts out and they're an open micer, and then they slowly work their way up, and at the end of the movie, they're in the big arena and everybody loves them. What they don't show you is the next day after that arena, he's back in some shithole pub in Alberton getting something thrown at him. Like that's how comedy works. Whereas Saturday Night Live gives us the impression that improvisers, they do their time in the dingy theater on some downs in the back of some alley, and then eventually they hit Saturday Night Live and they're superstars for life. Like I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We just don't have our Saturday Night Live in South Africa to turn improv into that, I think.
Have you seen Don't Think Twice?
Yes, it's magnificent. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, isn't that so cool? It's where like one person gets chosen from a troupe of improvisers. One person gets chosen for Saturday Night Live, and I'm just like, I mean, I was crying in that movie. I was crying at certain points, and Daniel, who's my husband, is like, "Oh my gosh, fuck! I hate actors." Okay, it's like honestly, man the fuck up. Man the fuck up. Like, but only one of them got chosen, babe. It's ruining the whole troupe. There's so much competition. Oh, that's good. How do you feel about competition? How do you feel about competition in stand-up?
There isn't any. I'm amazing. No, like for the longest time, no. For the longest time, I think one of the best things that's happened for me in my career is stopping worrying about what everybody else is doing. I think for years, when you're a young comedian, you can't help but compare yourself with the people who started out at the same time as you. What have they done? What have they achieved? How have they, where have they gone to? What are they doing? What kind of style are they writing in? Blah, 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 blah. And then effectively, I suppose 14 years down the line, you kind of realize, well, I'm in this, like I'm doing it. I'm doing it regularly. It's a career, and I can't really worry so much about what other people are doing. I can't really worry because they're going to get some gigs and I'm going to get some other gigs, and they're going to get some TV and I'm going to get some other TV, and they're going to get some corporates and I'm going to get some other corporates. And at the end of the day, it's not so much competition. Chris Forrest says it best. He said comedians shouldn't be in competition with each other. They should be in competition with all the other forms of entertainment. We're in competition with Netflix. We're in competition with sitting at home and drinking a beer. We're in competition with music bands and theater and with everything else, because we are an industry that is trying to attract more and more people through our doors and try and work together and try and offer a different variety and try and offer different stuff. We're not, if somebody chooses comedy and they go out for a night of comedy, it benefits all of us. So that's the only competition that I worry about and think about is how we market comedy in general and how South African comedy is doing in general. I don't think of it as a kind of a personal competition anymore. I guess I'm lucky.
I mean, yeah, totally. I think that's the right way to think about it. I wish I could get there quicker and easier. I mean, sometimes I am there, but it's very difficult, especially not when you're up there alone. It's difficult not to compare yourself,
No, but I think it's also, we have a very big tendency to continue looking upward, continue looking, how far do we still have to go until we are famous? And we very rarely kind of pause and look down the ladder and say, wow, look how far we've come. Look how many gigs we've done. Look how many opportunities I'm getting in a given month that many other people would kill for. Look how lucky I am to have come this far. Never mind, how far it is to go. It's your own, it's your own journey. George Carlin, for instance, spent decades on the college circuit in America, basically unrecognized. And it was only really when he kind of reinvented himself as this angry old man political speaker that you really kind of got any kind of fame. So, and that was what, at 60, 65? You're not looking at a guy who found instant success, and that was his journey. That was his own thing. But now people would say, what a phenomenal act, one of the best in the whole world, Just took him some time to get there, yeah.
I mean, speaking about George Carlin and being quite an angry performer, your persona is quite angry and hysterical, which is hilarious because, from watching your one-man show, as you get more and more worked up, you kind of take the audience on a journey with you of just you complaining and going hysterical, but it's in a really, really funny way. Do you feel like you've found your voice?
I think I'm finding it. Certainly, look, I like that you say your persona is an angry, cynical, because it's not really so much a persona. A lot of people comedian Stuart Lee says, he's Stuart Lee the person, and then the comedian Stuart Lee is the one who's on stage. And I'm kind of just like, well, I'm sort of angry and cynical now and sort of unhappy with the world, and I don't like the way a lot of stuff is going. So I do, yeah. I mean, obviously, you when you're on stage, you overemphasize stuff and you do things, but it's not so much a persona as kind of how I feel at the moment. And maybe 5 years from now, I'm going to be happy and everything's going to be ruined, and my comedy will vanish, and I will be vastly less successful than the towering heights which I've reached now. But
people don't understand that comedians are broken people.
Yeah, you see,
if we have to look
I
at
disagree with
the
it.
shit in our lives, if we have to look in the shit at the shit in our lives and go, where's the funny? Like, there is something cathartic about it, but it's also like, are we dealing with it? Are we dealing with it?
I genuinely think comedians are just like basically the vast majority. I mean, there's obviously some hit cases, but the vast majority are just like everybody else. You know, they go through moments, years perhaps, where they're happy, and years perhaps where they're sad or depressed, or years perhaps where they're joyful and life is going really wonderfully for them. And I think that you do get different aspects of a person's persona coming out during those different, different phases, and different kinds of jokes are written and different kinds of things are achieved during the different phases. I don't think comedians are necessarily broken. I think they are people who use comedy as an answer to life's problems. You know, the kind of people who laugh in the face of everything. But I don't think that necessarily makes you any more or less depressed or any more or less broken than the average person on the street. I certainly don't feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you. Take that back.
Too late. It's live. Okay. It's live. You're fucked now. Now that's
you're
there.
Right. You just look at our, I obviously just look at it as our little bubble, and most of the comedians I know, and what they
most of the people I know are going through shit at the moment. You know, like
totally.
The world's being totally shitty to everybody. So I think not just comedians, it's everybody's kind of dealing with this at the moment. Everybody's kind of angry. Everybody's pissed off. That's why there's thousands of people in the streets for, Black Lives Matter, and thousands others in the streets protesting for, against Trump, and thousands others in the streets protesting to end world hunger, and thousands others in the street it's because we're all pissed off and we're all angry and we're all a bit depressed about the way the world has kind of shaped itself for the vast majority of people. And I think if you're a thinking person who reads the news and who sees how other people are treated, and you're even vaguely empathetic, you've got to be pissed off with the world at the moment.
Yeah, it's not an industry thing. I get you.
Yeah, and it's not just comedians that are out on these marches, it's everybody,
Yeah, totally. Has there been a moment in your career where you've gone, this is it, I've hit the big time?
No. It happens in tiny little increments. You get little success and little success. And when you get that success, it always feels like it's come too late for you. You're like your first TV show, you think, man, this is amazing. This is great. I'm doing my first TV show. I'm doing Comedy Central, whatever it is. And then you're at the back of your head's going, yeah, but you should have been doing Comedy Central 5 years ago. Like, you should have been, like, imagine where you'd be if you were. And then so you think, damn it, that's not a big success. Then the next little thing comes, and then you perform, you sell out a show somewhere, and you think, yes, okay, now I've sold out a one-man show. Maybe this means success. And then you look at your bank balance and you go, well, I'm not a billionaire yet. So, and I think these little, success comes in steps. I think we get kind of trained, like a Pavlovian dogs, into thinking that success is like this overnight thing, that people go from being, nothing, and then they work and they work and they're nothing and they're nothing and they're nothing for years and years and years, and then just one night just rocketed to stardom. And I don't think that's how it works at all. I mean, I'm sure there's, there are people who've won America's Got Talent, or Susan boiled it up, but for the vast majority, I think success is a journey. It's a little thing. I don't think it's ever a moment where you get to say, unless you stop, like I say, and you look down the ladder, say, wow, look at all the stuff that I've done. I don't think there's ever an event or a moment where you go, fuck yes, this is it. Now I'm here. Now I'm made.
That's so powerful. It's so powerful. Just to think of our journey in terms of how far we've come, rather than how far we have to go, because that is anxiety-inducing, huge.
Yeah.
Hugely anxiety-inducing. Instead of going, wow, my mind is blown what I have been able to achieve in 4 years of doing stand-up.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, when I first started, 5 minutes was like the longest time. It was so long. Trying to fill the first 5 minutes now you tell me I got to do 5 minutes. I'm like, fuck, how? It's too short. Like I don't know how to fit, I don't know what jokes to fit into that. Like I have no idea. And then you think to yourself, well, if somebody asked me to do a 3-hour show, I could do it. I could get up there and I could entertain for 3 hours, whatever it is. And you think back to how you were at your first gig where that 5 minutes was so terrifying. Just that simple act. And you go, it's a lot easier now. And I say to people, like, your first gig is your hardest gig because you've got 5 minutes of material. None of it's tested. You don't know if any of it works. And you've got no fallback jokes at all. So you're stuffed. Like, you're literally out there the most scared you're ever going to be in this industry. Yeah. David Kabuka said to me the day, he said everybody's got to find their golden jokes and know which are their golden jokes. And those are the jokes that work in every occasion. They're the jokes that you can drop in any room and they will get a laugh. And the second you've got one golden joke, comedy becomes a lot easier because you can get up there and you can die for 5 minutes and then you can drop that one golden joke and then the room laughs. And it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so terrible. Your death wasn't so hard. And then over the years, you gather 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 golden jokes. And then I can get up there now and I can do 10 minutes of waffle, of new stuff that just dies because it was shit. And then I can drop my 5 or 6 golden jokes and I can walk off the stage and it'll be fine. So it's not nearly as scary.
Yeah.
So, just that kind of stuff. When you realize that sort of thing, when you realize I'm no longer scared of going on stage because I know I can make it work, that's way better than,
it's just
than anything else in the industry.
It's just such an optimistic way to look at it. It's the right way, not even optimistic. It's the right way to look at it, What is your big time?
My big time? A lot of people, they'll say like, would you move overseas? Would you go live in London or New York or these sorts of things to go and do comedy? And I did. I spent 2008-9 in London, and I did do comedy there, and I've got connections there. So whenever I go to London, I always do a few gigs. I always have, places to stay. I always have things that I can do there, and it would be an option. But to me, the most important thing in my life is my little son who's here, and going over and being a big star in London, it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. I don't know whether that's because I've given up or just because the priorities are different. So for me, the best thing, the big time for me, the next step, I think, would be writing and scripting and getting my own show onto TV, onto Netflix. And I am working with a couple of people to do that at the moment. So it's not just a pipe dream. I try and look at achievable goals. Sort of say within the next year, I will have done this. I'll have submitted X number of scripts or X number of pitches, and that's So that's, I think, the big time for me is being able to work at what I want to work at when I want to work at it and in a way that I want to work at it, rather than I'd rather do that than work on somebody else's show as a massive superstar somewhere. The idea of massive fame has never really appealed to me at all either, because you hear stories. Trevor Noah doing his gig in Durban. I don't know if you know this story. He did a gig in Durban, and then he and the opening acts kind of went out to Florida Road afterwards to have a drink, and Trevor had his hoodie up and everything, and he got out of the taxi and someone recognized him, and they were mobbed so badly they had to bundle him back in the taxi and get to the hotel and go and spend the evening in the hotel. Like, you can't go out for a drink in a bar anymore. You can't live your life. What you want is to be so famous that if you tell people you're a comedian, they go, fuck yes, of course. But if you don't tell them who you are, then they go, I think I know that guy. Did I go to school with that guy? Like, that's what you want. That's the fame.
That's a great level of fame. That's a great. I am holding that vision for you, and I know that when you have a project or something you want to do, you do it, because as I say, we were in London at the same time. I was performing my one-woman show and then came to watch your one-woman show. Warren one-woman show was incredible, guys.
2020.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So good. but came to watch it, and there you had like 3 sold out nights, like just
2,
amazing.
yeah, 2.
You know, to be able to go overseas and say, cool, I don't need to be the biggest act in London, but when I do travel, I've got an audience, and I'm just that famous to say, we'll go to his show, or, hey, aren't you that guy?
That's right.
Aren't you that guy?
Yeah, that was it. And then I went and I all the made. I spent every cent of the made drinking beer at Oktoberfest last year. So, you know, I mean, I could have paid the bond maybe, but my life choices have not always been the best.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. I think that's the best.
Yeah.
You know, you want to still travel and see the world. And as you say, comedy's taken us to places we would never go to before, you know? So,
unreal.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
I've done gigs in Reykjavik and Amsterdam. Just trying to think of the weirdest places, you know, obviously London, Ireland, Scotland, you know. And every time you do them, you just think, what am I doing here? Why am I like, this is insane? Like, what am I doing on stage? You know, it's wonderful. It's really like, it's such a lovely career just to kind of be in.
Do you think you'll ever stop touring or stop doing comedy?
I don't know. I mean, there's no, you know, I never put pressure on myself to carry on doing it, to stop, so I don't know. As long as I'm enjoying it, I guess. There's no plan to stop. As long as I'm having a good time, as long as I'm still enjoying dragging myself out to Pretoria on Thursday nights, or, you know, like, and I do enjoy it. Yeah, no, I do enjoy it because, you know, apart from anything else, comedy is a social thing. So you go there and you meet some people who you like, and you hang out and you have some beers, and that's not a shit job, you know? So that would be like saying to me, do you ever plan to quit watching TV? No. No plan to.
I'm gonna watch it. Yeah. Totally. What advice would you give? What would you tell yourself? Oh, this is a good question. What would you tell your 2004 comedy starting self?
Sure. Yeah, just to relax, that it's going to be a long journey, you know, that there's no quick fixes, and there's no fast answers, and there's no easy way to do things. It's just that it's you just got to put the time in, you got to keep showing up, you got to keep doing it. And I think that's, you know, because I think at the time I was, you know, student, ready to start life, ready to make things happen, ready to, you know, blow the world apart, and I think it's just settle in would be it. Settle in, enjoy it, appreciate what you're doing, appreciate where you are. And I think I like to think, to be honest, that I have enjoyed every kind of gig and every kind of weirdness, you know, and every music festival that I've done for next to no money, and every, you know, kind of strange gig for so and so in some back end of South Africa. There's always been something to appreciate about it.
Totally. Yeah, you're so right. It's just like chill the F.
Yeah.
Chill the F. It's coming. You just got to.
We've got the time. Yeah. We've got the time.
Yeah. Have you tried comedy online yet?
So I did that Savannah Comedy Club thing, but other than that, I haven't.
What happened with my Savannah thing?
No. Okay, you can.
Fine. Okay, so first of all, I am a Virgo, and Mercury is my ruling planet.
I don't know how to turn this off. I don't know. You're a what?
I lost the one viewer we had. But anyway, Mercury's retrograde, and they said to me, Claudine, you have to fill out that form. I didn't fill out the form, so I didn't get the job.
I mean, that's fair.
Everybody got the job. Like, if you filled out the form, everybody got the job. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed out on that amount of money that job, that's never happened to me in my life, ever.
So now you know exactly the one thing you should tell the young you starting out 4 years ago.
Yes,
Just fill in the fucking form, Claudine. Yeah. Fill in the fucking form.
Fill in the fucking form. Oh
Yeah.
my God. How did it go?
I think it went okay in the end. I was with Mo Motebe and Stuart Taylor, so it was two people who are kind of very comfortable and very kind of charismatic, just sort of sitting on a camera. So I think we did okay. It's a strange thing to be sitting in your kitchen, essentially doing TV. Because I was by myself in this flat, with my laptop kind of in front of me and trying to do some jokey jokes, like you've no idea how the audience is reacting. You've got, yeah. So it was very strange, but yeah, that's been my only attempt. I always do things kind of based on what I would do as an audience member. So I sort of said to myself, would I go to that? Would I tune into that? Would I watch that? Would I do that? And my answer very much when it comes to live streaming online comedy is no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't watch that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't, for the most part, because either there's very slick Netflix specials, plenty of them, some great ones, and you can watch a very slick kind of stand-up event like that, or there's live comedy. And to me, nothing beats live comedy because the comedian can see you and can interact with you and can tear you apart, and there's an energy there and a friction there that you just don't get in the TV show. As I say, I felt weird sitting alone in my kitchen trying to do stand-up. So for me, comedy's like, it's supposed to be experienced live, and if you can't experience it live, then maybe a Netflix special. I don't even watch a lot of those. So to try and persuade myself to do stand-up when I know I would never go and watch it, I would never tune my TV on is difficult.
So my next question was going to be, are you planning on doing your one man online? But I guess it's a resounding
no. I'm basically just I'm using these months to sit a lot, to watch a lot of TV, to try and survive, keep myself. I bake a lot, try and keep myself mentally stable. And because who knows when this thing is going to end, and I would like to get back. I like to imagine that I'm going to get back to doing stand-up live and in person for people, and I would hate to then, when I'm on stage, have somebody say to me, "Hey, I saw that piece of shit you put out while we were all locked down. You made lockdown worse for me. Yeah, you made lockdown worse for me. You suck. I hate you. I nearly killed myself that night because of you."
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
It's so funny. Warren, you are just a bloody legend. Where do we follow you? Where do we get your content? Where do we get hold of you?
Look, Twitter's a great place. I'm always there, in some capacity. I don't tweet as much as I used to, but I'm always there reading it. So if you want to get hold of me, I'm on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, Facebook group, all that stuff. And I've got a website, warrenrobertson.co.za, if you want to see more photographs of me looking not
more nudes.
Yeah, looking at me like I've had a haircut in the last fucking 4 months. Look at me. I look like I play for an emo band in the early 2000s.
I literally am wearing a bloody duck on my head because it's the worst. Everything that's going on. I
had a duck. I really do. This is stupid. This is stupid now.
I need some pampering. Warren, you are a bloody legend. You are so funny.
Thank you.
I am, as you know, a huge fan of yours, and I will keep. I mean, the fact that I get to perform with you, I'm just so grateful about that. So,
you kiss that.
No, it's true. I will keep, obviously, watching all the stuff you put out, going to your live shows, and I hope everybody who is watching now does as well. So thank you for being on the Big Time.
No, thank you, Claudine. This was fun, and as I said, it wasn't. I was going to just sit on the floor for an hour, so I'm glad I had an inspiration to actually have a chat with somebody.
Yay, I gave you the opportunity to move away.
This is nice.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's been strange because it's the first time I'm having like a Zoom chat with somebody where I'm not drinking heavily. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, you just got drunk before, so you're fine now.
Oh, I wish. They took away all our alcohol. Those bastards. They must bring it back.
I know.
Yeah.
Warren, you're the
Thank
best.
you, Claudine.
Thank you, my darling.
Fun.
Thank you so
much. Bye,
so
everybody. Cheers.
Guys, that was Warren Robertson. He is so funny. He is a comedian and improviser. If you do not follow him, please make sure you do so right now. As I say, he is just magical live. I pinch myself that I get to perform with him, but also that I get to watch his shows. So please follow Warren. This is it for the big time, guys. For today's show, there is going to be another one tomorrow, but after that, we're going to be slowing down and doing the big time once a week. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been watching, everybody who has been commenting and been letting me know who they would like me to interview, because I've made sure that I am interviewing them. So if you are enjoying the content I'm putting out, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow that page on Facebook, TikTok, follow me. You guys are amazing. Thank you. This is it for the big time. Bye.